Hi guys, and welcome back to Maltbox, the non-chill filtered whiskey blog. I'm Andy and I'm back here today with another review of sorts. Now, this is the first part of a little mini series that I mentioned in my previous video, where I'm going to be highlighting some of my favourite independent bottlers. Not necessarily specific bottlings, although I will be trying a few along the line. But this is about the bottlers. Who are they? Where they come from? What they're trying to do. Before I get started, independent bottlings is something that I'm very passionate about. They are, generally speaking, I'm looking at my shelves now, they generally speaking make up the majority of my whiskey collection. I enjoy the variety, I enjoy the flexibility, I enjoy the price as well, to be honest, in a lot of cases. Now, independent bottlers, I'm sure many of you are aware, but for those that aren't, independent bottlers are not whiskey distillers. Some do both. You only need to look at Cadenhead, which is owned by Mitchell, J.A. Mitchell, which owns Springbank and Glengyle. However, generally speaking, an independent bottler is a company that either buys matured whiskey and bottles it under their own label, or they buy spirit and then mature it themselves in bonded warehouses. Now, I'm going to be looking at two bottlers today, two of my favourites. All these that I buy will be my favourites in some way, otherwise I won't buy them. But these are going to be bottlers that I know across this mini series that provide good value for money, good whiskey as well, more importantly. Now, the first one is a bottler that I highlighted on my 2020 review video. It's a bottler that, to be honest with you, I'm relatively new to, but they have been going for quite a while. They bottle single malts, they bottle blended malts, they bottle single casks, etc., etc. And it's the guys at Northstar Spirits, headed up by Ian Croucher. Now, Northstar have to have some of the most aesthetically pleasing whiskey bottles on the market. They're just absolutely beautiful. Now, I've got two here for you. I've got Chaos, which, I mean, just look at that. That is absolutely beautiful, absolutely lovely. And the colour of the whiskey isn't bad either. Now, Northstar, the bottlings are named after constellations, stars, or other space things. So Chaos is a 10-year-old Carolina. I've reviewed it already. This is batch 1. I do also have batch 2 that I've not yet opened and not yet tried, but again, absolutely beautiful labelling. Really, really is. Just look at that, colours and everything. And here's another example. This is what a lot of the other ones look like. So here's Vega. Lovely blended malt there that I picked up a couple of weeks ago. Again, natural colour, non-chill filtered. And I think that's the thing for independent bottlers. You will find the majority are natural colour and unchill filtered, because that's kind of one of their selling points. They have to differentiate themselves from the distillery bottlings. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, I mean, they provide variety because they're buying individual casks. They don't always release them as single casks, but they still vat them, but it's going to be from a smaller batch of casks than, generally speaking, the distillery themselves would use. Another thing, now we're on the subject of independent bottlers in general, not all distilleries are happy with their names being shown on labels. I can think of a couple off the top of my head that don't basically allow the bottler to show their distillery name on. One of them's quite a well-known one from Speyside, and I've had some great indie bottlings from them that are great value, great value at higher ages. Going back to Northstar, like I say, I mean, this is a blended malt, so this is Vega. I've also got a 40-year-old blend called, I want to say Spicer, but it could be Spiker, S-P-I-C-A, but that's tucked away under the stairs at the minute because I bought too many bottles in 2020, to be honest. So I've had to make some room. But I will be reviewing batch 2 of Chaos at some point, and I can't wait to open this. I've just got too many open bottles at the minute. So this is a 20, just to highlight, right, so before I carry on. Now, I mentioned at the start value, all right? I mentioned value. Now, if you think that the standard 12-year-old Colila that's bottled at 43%, I think it's chill, well, it is chill filtered, and it's probably got some added colouring in there. That retails at about between £35 to £45, depending where you buy it. It's not always on offer. And let's bear in mind that Colila is the biggest distillery on Islay. They've got the most capacity. Not all of it, in fact the vast majority, isn't matured on Islay. It's matured in the mainland. It's shipped over. However, so just bear that in mind, the 12-year-old, right, with all its reduced presentation, costs about 45 quid on average. Let's just call it 45 quid on average. Chaos by Northstar. The 2 batches that I have in my hands here, natural colour, and what colour that is. Non-chill filtered, bottled at 50%. It's a 10-year-old Colila. It's a 10-year-old Colila. All right, you've lost 2 years. Who cares? It's 2 years. That doesn't make the whiskey better just because you've got an extra 2 digits on it. It doesn't matter. This was a vatting of 2 casks, limited to 1,200 bottles. RRP, £40. Batch 2. Again, a vatting of casks, a little bit more this time because of 1,500 bottles. But again, we're looking at sherry matured whiskies. These are sherry casks that we're looking at here. Again, RRP, £40 to £45. It's a no-brainer. I would have and having tried batch 1, I would have that any day of the week over the standard distillery bottling of Colila. It's just phenomenal. And it provides everything that I love about distillery, but with a sherry influence that comes normally at a premium. Sherry casks are expensive to buy. Ergo, the whiskey that is matured in them, due to the fact also that the flavours are quite sought after as well, are more expensive. A sherry matured whiskey will generally cost you more than an equivalent cask of a similar age, kept in similar conditions, in an ex-bourbon cask. They just will. It's economics. So that's just 2 examples there. And then again, we've got this blended malt, a 20-year-old blended malt. And I think this was about 60 quid off the top of my head. Bottled at 43.5%, but it's cask strength. It's still cask strength. All right, it's 43.5. But that's because over time, one of those casks, probably one of them more than the other, will have contributed to lowering that ABV overall. So they've not necessarily watered it down because it's natural cask strength. 1 of 600 bottles. Now this is limited edition number 7. And this, much to my disappointment in myself, is the first bottling of this that I've picked up, because previously they've sold out really quick, just like these did. Because again, very well priced. A 20-year-old blended malt for that amount of money with that presentation and that amount of sherry influence is just great value. So guys, keep your eye on Northstar, and to the guys at Northstar, keep it up. Keep it up. Right then, now we're on to our next bottler. And this is a bottler that I have been a massive fan of for years, like over a decade, in fact. It's a bottler that I've been buying my whiskey from for over 10 years. Hi, Winston. Cat. So this is a bottler that some of you may already be familiar with. He's got a bit of a cult following. If you know, you know kind of thing. He's the son, the guy that runs it is the son of Raymond Armstrong, who previously ran the Bladnoch distillery. And I absolutely loved Armstrong era Bladnoch, I'll be honest. Martin Armstrong runs Whiskybroker at whiskybroker.co.uk. Now, I already know that some of the guys watching this video will be like, shut up, because Martin provides possibly some of the best value whiskey on the market, and he has done consistently for over a decade. And I'm not exaggerating, he really, really has. I've been buying from him for years, and there's a reason why I continue to do so. Now, I've got 3 bottlings here just to highlight that. I've also got quite a few bottlings again in boxes under the stairs, not because I'm tucking them away to send them to auction, because I just don't, but because I've just not got round to them yet. So first of all, let's talk about the bottles first. I'm not going to sugar the pill. Put these side by side. Which to you, in terms of labelling and bottle size and bottle shape, is more aesthetically pleasing? It's that one. It's that one. Ignore the contents, but the actual labelling itself, very, very, very luxurious, and similar bottles to the Bruichladdich bottles. This is just your standard 700ml whiskey bottle. There's no back label, and that is the front label. Do you mind? Really? This is going on the outtake reels again. Down you go. So there we go, Whiskybroker. There is the label. But all right, it's basic. But do you know what it does? It tells you everything that you need to know. When you get into independent bottlings, that's when you really start going down the rabbit hole. That's when you really start getting your geek on. All right? There's a bit of variety, but there's also variation sometimes in quality. And generally speaking, Martin does a lot more single casks than anything else. Or vattings of a couple of casks maybe. Now, one of the things I love about indies is you can explore some of your more geeky side in terms of distilleries. Now, the label I've just shown you there, this is a 24-year-old Strathmill. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times on the blog, I've got a weird fixation with Strathmill. I've got a couple of I've got a lot of indie bottlings of it, because apart from the Diageo Flora and Fauna releases, which is the only official bottling out at the minute, they're the ones that you can get. They're indies, because Diageo only do the core Flora and Fauna range, because the majority of the whiskey from Strathmill goes into blends. That's what it's there for. However, I really like it. So this is a 24-year-old Strathmill from a single hogshead, filled on the 31st of July 1996 and bottled on the 31st of July 2020. Yeah? So it's a 24-year-old, just a 24-year-old. Bottle number 180 of 220, single cask, not chill filtered, no added colouring, may contain small traces of cask sediment, bottled at 53%. Whew. Okay, that was a mouthful. This, from memory, was 75 quid. For a 24-year-old single malt, single cask, from a distillery that you very, very rarely see. Next up, we've got a bourbon from Heaven Hill, a 10-year-old single barrel bourbon from Heaven Hill. Bottled 3rd of July 2019, filled 31st of May 2009, 65 of 330 bottles, 50.2%. Again, single cask, non-chill filtered, no added colouring, may contain cask sediment. Like, all right, again, I'm not going to bang on about the labels because they're there for information. They are there to look nice, but they're also there to provide information on what you're drinking, and that is exactly what this does. And this was about 40 quid. For a 10-year-old bourbon, which for a start is quite old, and also single cask. Like, it's just good value. It's really, really good value. I've been buying from Martin for years, and I know I've already said that, but his operation, I've seen his operation grow since he started, and now he's got this huge warehouse over in Cretan, in the lowland area, if we're looking at whiskey areas. Basically absolutely stacked to the nines, and when he does his inventory, he's got, he doesn't rack. He basically palletizes, so all of his stuff's on pallets. So he's got 4 barrels, 4 casks per pallet or something like that. And they're just, it's like, you know that scene in Indiana Jones? Yeah? Where he's found the Ark of the Covenant, and then you see Area 51 in that big warehouse, and this old fella's just pushing it in amongst all these other boxes right at the back. And then boxes go on top of that. Pretty much that. When he has to get a bottle out, a cask out, to bottle or to sample, he has to dig them all out to get to them, like a massive Lego house. And what Martin does is he's one of the classic indie bottlers that buys new make spirit and matures it himself in Cretan as well, which is really, really cool. And he's got a lot of people that own casks in his warehouse that pay for the cask and then warehouse space. Some of those casks probably came from Bladnoch, because back in the day, the guys at Bladnoch used to store a lot of casks for private people as well, but that changed following the takeover. The last one that I'm going to talk to you about is this and again, it's closed, but it's not because I've not got around to it. It's a 9-year-old Caol Ila, matured in a red wine cask, and I think that was about £55. Bottled in May 2020, 57.4%, single cask. No added colour, non-chill filters. It's just no nonsense stuff. This is whiskey, and this is what I love about indies, particularly ones like Whiskybroker. This is whiskey in its purest form. It's whiskey. It's there to be drunk. It's there to be enjoyed. It is there to be enjoyed. And, you know, I think you'll be hard pressed to find better value on the market, to be honest, for particularly some of the higher aged bottlings than from what Martin has. So shout out to both Ian and Martin and your teams for doing what you do. Please keep it up. Please keep it up, because you've got a lot of fans, myself included, and you know you are providing great value for money in the market today. Whiskey's becoming more and more expensive. Wages are staying more and more stagnant. The pleasures in life are becoming harder and harder to find. However, what you guys are doing is a lovely breakthrough in terms of providing that enjoyment for a good price. So guys, that's the end of this first look at independent bottlers. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to subscribe if you have. Check out maltboxwhiskey.com. I'm on Twitter at maltbox, Instagram at maltboxwhiskey. Thanks for watching. I'm going to box it off. Cheers.